Now, so we have a medium size of watermelon here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna carve a simple flower on it. So just for stability, what we have to do is just take the bottom off, so that what it does is it just keeps it solid so it doesn't move. And same thing, what you have to do is you have to judge which surface area is much larger and stronger to hold any carving. So in my idea, that part of that is much more better. So what we have to do is take this back part and just a small scoop out of that as well, so that sometimes if we have to put the watermelon like that to carve on it, it sits very well. Because the outer skin is a little bit tougher, so we're gonna get rid of it. We're gonna peel it out. Okay, again we are using a chopping knife and a paring knife, a carving knife as you can call it, small. That's what we'll be using. Now peeling is just the top of skin, which is the hardest skin on the watermelon. That's what we are using. Now these fruits are much more easier to carve because they are softer inside, and they look much good because there's 2-3 different tones of colors are going on. There's red inside and white and light green. So just get our surface ready. So nice evenly peeled off all around it. I think that's much better. And what we're gonna do is just all these lines there, just the peeler to go around to make it much bit more smoother. So that's done there. Now carve a small center part of the flower basically. Okay, as you can see, it has to be more or less a perfect round. Okay, so we have that ready there. What we do now is half moon shapes, that size. Okay, now what we have to do is we don't cut all the way in, we're just cutting up till the end, but not all the way, because obviously it's gonna break apart. So half moon shapes going all around the circle and inside the circle. We have just half moons all the way going around inside the circle. Now all these middle parts has to come out. Okay. So basically, if you can rotate your fruit, you can rotate your fruit, you can rotate your hand, you can rotate the hand. Okay, so now, so that's inside part out, just to make sure the surface is level, because all these small details will actually highlight how good the flower looks like. Okay, so all this surface everywhere is nice and smooth. Okay, we're just gonna take center part out. Okay, now what we are doing is same procedure again inside, half moons, starting from the middle of one of the moons there and finishing on the other half as well. So that's the whole idea. Okay, so I'm doing the same procedure. I'm taking a layer underneath those moons out, because there's not much of a gap like these ones in there. So what we are doing is just taking the layer out. So if you imagine a flower which is kind of closing from inside, will have similar kind of petals which are much more smaller inside. They're much more closer to each other as well. So imagining that, we are working ahead. Okay, so now same thing again, because it's a bit smaller inside, we just need a couple more petals in there, not too many. Okay, so that's literally done. What you can do is just give a bit more detail. You can just carve, doesn't have to be any shape, just take out a few bits there so it looks like there's small petals which are trying to open in there. For some petals outside, what we do is these will be smaller petals outside and bigger petals outside. Smaller petal inside the ring, and as we go outside we'll make them bigger. So now shape of the petal is basically your own, what you want. So if you want it that way, just take it. Okay, and again if you see, I have taken the middle of that and create a petal in them, and we're repeating the same thing. Now, same thing again. What you do is you take the middle bit out just to highlight, make it three-dimensional. Okay, so as you see, the interior of the flower is there. If you see, this is flat and this is flat and there's a line going around it, we don't want that because we want the flower to be just on one surface. So we take that line out. Okay, so that's nice and flat surface there. And what we need is similar 2 layers just outside of that, and that's the flower ready then. So if you want, we just go ahead and make another 2 layers outside of that. Okay, so that's basically it's ready. It's beautiful to present on any buffet or something, and if you have a bowl or a plate, it can be sitting in a bowl, and you can garnish it with a bit of lettuce or something if you want on the side. So what we're gonna do is we try to make 2 small flowers here. As I said, you can make it as a bouquet, so it could be any kind of flowers. As we have done there, we can copy that, or if we are making into smaller, you can just choose any kind of petal forms and they will give you flowers. So say if we take a small round there, because we're just trying to make a small flower there, and just again in a V shape we are cutting the lines. So again, that's just the center of the flower. We go petals outside. It doesn't have to be too complex, just simple. Okay, and again, just clear this out. We're only gonna make another layer, because it's just a small flower on the bouquet. Okay, so that's one small flower ready there, and what we are doing is we're going to make another flower around it. But what we are going to do is, because we're just going to make a half of the flower so that it looks like in three-dimensional way that the flower is actually behind that flower. So rather than starting the center of the flower in here, we're basically going to start somewhere here, and we're not going to complete it. We're just going to go halfway through. So if you look at it, we're just going to go half here. Okay, so rest half is basically assumed that is behind it. Okay, and we're gonna just copy a little bit what we done before on the watermelon, just few half moons there. And again, you don't need to go into too detail because they're pretty small. Okay, and just go more or less the same what we have done before, and another layer. Okay, so that's a bit of part of the bouquet is done as well. So basically it gives an impression that that big flower is actually behind that one. What we're gonna do is, because it's only a medium-sized watermelon, we gonna go with a big rose here. So for that, again, we need to carve in the middle a middle circle just for the interior of the flower. Okay, now for the rose, what you have to do is once you carve that, you need to take out a line here. Again, it's in the same way as you take out anything else here. It's done in a V shape, so you go this way and you go this way. So for this kind of flower, you need to carve petals inside as well. So just what you're doing is the outside of the circle, you're just carving thin petals. Okay, we're left with the circle inside. We're just gonna uniform that. We make it, there's no sharp ends anywhere. Okay, and we're gonna repeat a similar process, carving few petals inside the circle. Okay, and I think that's done. Okay, so that's just the interior of the rose there. We're gonna carve petals outside as well. So what we are doing here is we're taking a half moon basically out. Now whatever layer is left inside, we're just outlining that. So that leaves us with thin petal. And we follow the same thing again. Start from nearly the middle of the other petal. Take out that piece which is half moon and just outline that. And it's the same process all around. Okay, so that's first layer done. Just take out from the sides to make it a little visible. Okay, all we did is just take a thin boundary out and flatten the surface for the next layer. Now, for the next layer, it's the same process. Half moon out and just outline that part which is empty. Okay, so that's the rose nearly done there. You just gonna clear the sides. Okay, so we have 3 flowers there. What you have to get, just a couple of leaves there. So for leaves, as I show you before, as they made out of cucumber, it's probably the same idea here. So just the interior of the leaf there. Let me just outline those. So we have one big leaf on the outside, and the other side we can make probably 2 small leaves in the similar fashion. Okay, so that leaves are ready. What we have to do is just make it look like that these flowers are connected with the whole theme. So we're just gonna make up the stalks there, and that's basically it's ready. So a couple of flowers and a rose and a few leaves around it, and you can present that in a buffet.